Sure. So I'll kind of answer this from the user perspective. EVM compatible and an EVM equivalent chains, what that means is that they can run smart contract bytecode written for the Ethereum virtual machine, or EVM. This means developers can deploy Ethereum-based apps, usually from Solidity with minimal changes. So examples of this are like Tron, Binance Smart Chain, Say Network, Avalanche C chains, and a whole slew of others. So these chains are independent of Ethereum. They don't share its security or rely on the same consensus. And to clarify, when people say consensus, there's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but without being explained. Consensus is how everyone agrees on which transactions are valid and in what order. So to make sure that everyone in the network has the same view of what happened. Whereas execution is when you actually apply the transactions against the blockchain binary and update the system and actually move money around and run the program, so to speak. So those types of chains do not share consensus with Ethereum, even though they can execute in the same manner. L2s, a lot of the different kinds actually have are quite different between like rollups, sidechains, like the examples you mentioned. But I guess from a user perspective, they aren't that different from EVM compatible L1s for a user, right? And I back that up with saying like you still need to bridge from Ethereum to an L2 in the same way that you need to bridge from Ethereum to an EVM compatible L1, right? Users can also still utilize Ethereum native apps so long as that application has a redeployment or is developed in such a way that you can use it across multiple chains. So like in the case of Uniswap or GMX, there's usually a drop down where you can switch between Arbitrum or ETH1 and use different RPCs. So in some sense, I don't think to the end user, there's not a huge difference, even though the technical details can be like way different under the hood, whether that's for a ZK rollup or if you have a sequencer or things like that.
I see. Wow, that's really insightful. Thank you for that. So what's the timeline of the EVM upgrade to mainnet?
Sure. So the short answer would be likely early 2025. So the recent rationale behind that is we're still doing the second audit, right? So we finished the core code that we wanted to complete for bringing in EVM, and it's been, running on devnets and testnets for several months, but with us still developing and adding stuff to it. So the mainnet upgrade on the chain may occur, optimistically before like the end of December. Though I see that as likely to be in early January. And that's when we would enter a phase like we've been referring to as mainnet beta. So essentially applications will begin to like deploy their bytecode. We'll set up a bunch of infrastructure like subgraphs, Oracle connections, the blockchain explorer on mainnet, switching the web app off of the way where it is now to be like the testnet one where you can connect the other class of wallets and like handle ERC20 assets. Essentially, there's like a bunch of other things to set up besides just the upgrade. But I expect the upgrade to be early in the coming year, if not this year, coming up pretty soon. We'll see after the audit how many changes we need to make. And then the actual launch, what I would say, what immediately follows the beta. That's when we'd start like really getting more aggressive with like marketing. It kind of hinges on how many technical challenges there are with setting up the infra I just mentioned, and also requires some coordination with the apps, right? Because really the launch of a feature like this is more about the applications launching on top, not just upgrading the chain. That should be January or February.